Welcome to Lifelong Echoes, where we explore the remarkable stories of people who changed our world forever. Today, we discover the extraordinary life of Elon Musk, a man who was brutally bullied as a child, lost all his money multiple times, was kicked out of his own company, nearly went bankrupt trying to build rockets that kept exploding, and still became the richest person in the world by refusing to accept that electric cars and reusable rockets were impossible. This is the story of how a lonely boy reading science fiction in South Africa decided to make those fictional dreams real, no matter how many times people told him he was crazy. On June 28, 1971, in Pretoria, South Africa, a baby was born who would one day build electric cars, reusable rockets, and plan to colonize Mars. His name was Elon Reeve Musk, and from his earliest days, he was different from other children in ways that made his childhood difficult, but would later make him extraordinary. Elon was painfully shy and socially awkward. While other children played sports and made friends, young Elon read books. Not just a few books. He read everything he could find. By age 8, he had read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica. When he ran out of books at the school library, he started reading the public library. When he ran out of books there, he started reading technical manuals and programming guides. Elon's parents divorced when he was young, and he chose to live with his father, a decision he later said was a mistake. His father was emotionally abusive and difficult, but Elon rarely talks about those years, saying only that his childhood was not happy and that he would not wish it on anyone. At school, Elon was mercilessly bullied. He was small for his age, socially awkward, and preferred reading to sports. Bullies targeted him relentlessly. Once, a group of boys pushed him down a flight of stairs and beat him so badly he was hospitalized. The bullying was so severe that Elon developed social anxiety that lasted into adulthood. But Elon found escape in two places: books and his imagination. He devoured science fiction novels by Isaac Asimov and Douglas Adams. These stories weren't just entertainment. They showed him visions of humanity's future among the stars. They taught him that technology could solve problems and that one person with determination could change the world. At age 10, Elon discovered computers. He taught himself programming from a manual and within 2 years had created his first video game, Blaster, which he sold to a computer magazine for $500. While other kids his age were playing video games, Elon was creating them. By his teenage years, Elon knew he wanted to work on things that would impact humanity's future. He identified 3 areas: the internet, sustainable energy, and space exploration. Most teenagers dream about sports stars or musicians. Elon dreamed about colonizing Mars. At 17, Elon left South Africa for Canada to avoid mandatory military service and to pursue opportunities he couldn't find at home. He arrived with almost no money and spent time working odd jobs and even shoveling grain in boiling hot silos. Eventually, He made his way to the United States to attend the University of Pennsylvania, studying physics and economics. After finishing his degree, Elon was accepted to Stanford University for a PhD in physics. But after just 2 days, he dropped out. The year was 1995 and the internet was exploding. Elon saw an opportunity too big to ignore. With his brother Kimball, Elon founded Zip2, a company that provided online business directories and maps to newspapers. The concept seems simple now, but in 1995, most businesses didn't even have websites. Elon and Kimball worked out of a tiny office, sleeping on the floor and showering at the local YMCA because they couldn't afford rent. Elon threw himself into the work with obsessive intensity. He coded during the day, debugged at night, and barely slept. His girlfriend at the time said dating him was like dating an apartment building because he was always working, never fully present emotionally. In 1999, Compaq bought Zip2 for $307 million. Elon's share was $22 million. At age 28, he was suddenly wealthy. Most people would have retired or taken it easy. Elon immediately invested his entire fortune into his next venture. He co-founded X.com, an online banking and payment company. The idea was revolutionary for 1999, using the internet to transfer money securely. But Elon's management style caused problems. He was a perfectionist who worked impossible hours and expected everyone else to do the same. He made quick decisions that alienated colleagues. In 2000, while Elon was on his honeymoon, X.com's board of directors voted to replace him as CEO. Elon was devastated but stayed with the company, which soon merged with a competitor and became PayPal. In 2002, eBay bought PayPal for $1.5 billion. Elon's share was $180 million. He was now seriously wealthy, and he was about to invest it all in 2 ventures that everyone said were impossible. With his PayPal fortune, Elon could have lived luxuriously for the rest of his life. Instead, he did something that shocked everyone. He announced he was starting a rocket company called SpaceX with the goal of making humanity a multiplanetary species by colonizing Mars. Aerospace experts laughed. Building rockets was incredibly expensive and required massive government funding. Private rocket companies had tried and failed. NASA spent billions on space missions. How could one person with $180 million possibly succeed? Elon didn't care what experts said. He believed that making rockets reusable, like airplanes, would reduce costs dramatically and make space travel accessible. The fact that no one had ever done it before didn't mean it was impossible. SpaceX's first 3 rocket launches failed spectacularly. The first rocket exploded seconds after launch. The second rocket spun out of control. The third rocket failed to reach orbit. Each failure cost tens of millions of dollars. Elon was watching his fortune disappear in fireballs. Meanwhile, in 2004, Elon had invested in and become chairman of a small electric car startup called Tesla Motors. Electric cars had been tried for decades and always failed. They were slow, ugly, and impractical. Everyone knew that electric cars would never succeed. Elon believed they were wrong. With better battery technology and proper design, electric cars could outperform gasoline cars. But bringing Tesla's first car to market proved incredibly difficult. The Roadster was years behind schedule, costs spiraled out of control, and the 2008 financial crisis devastated car sales. By 2008, Elon was in catastrophic trouble. SpaceX had failed 3 times and had money for only one more launch attempt. Tesla was burning through cash and on the verge of bankruptcy. Elon's personal fortune was nearly gone. His marriage was failing. He was living in a friend's house because he couldn't afford his own place. Elon faced an impossible choice. He had enough money to possibly save one company, but not both. He could save SpaceX or Tesla, but if he split his remaining money between them, both would likely fail. September 28, 2008. SpaceX's fourth rocket, the Falcon 1, stood on its launch pad in the Pacific Ocean. This was SpaceX's last chance. If this launch failed, the company would go bankrupt and Elon's dream of making humanity multiplanetary would die. The rocket lifted off perfectly. Stage 1 separated cleanly. Stage 2 ignited successfully. 9 minutes later, the Falcon 1 reached orbit, the first privately built rocket to ever do so. SpaceX employees watching from California erupted in tears and cheers. Elon later said he couldn't even remember celebrating because he was so emotionally exhausted. That success changed everything. Within weeks, NASA awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract to deliver cargo to the International Space Station. SpaceX was saved. But Tesla was still dying. By December 2008, the company was hours from bankruptcy. Elon made desperate calls to investors on Christmas Eve, begging for money to make payroll. At the last possible moment, investors came through with just enough to keep Tesla alive. Elon had made the most important decision of his life. He had split his money between both companies rather than choosing one. He had bet everything on 2 impossible ventures simultaneously. By all logic, he should have lost everything. Instead, both companies survived and began to thrive. Tesla's Model S, released in 2012, revolutionized the car industry. It was beautiful, fast, and could travel over 200 miles on a charge. Car magazines that had mocked electric cars gave the Model S perfect scores. Suddenly, electric cars weren't just viable, they were desirable. Major car companies that had laughed at Tesla scrambled to develop their own electric vehicles. SpaceX achieved milestone after milestone. In 2012, SpaceX's Dragon capsule became the first commercial spacecraft to deliver cargo to the International Space Station. Elon's seemingly crazy bet on private space travel was paying off. Once Tesla and SpaceX were stable, Elon didn't slow down. Instead, he accelerated. He proposed a high-speed transportation system called the Hyperloop. He founded Neuralink to develop brain-computer interfaces. He started the Boring Company to dig tunnels under cities to solve traffic congestion. Critics called him crazy, a fraud, someone who overpromised and underdelivered. When Elon said SpaceX would land rockets vertically so they could be reused, Aerospace experts said it was impossible. "You can't land a pencil falling from space," they said. On December 21st, 2015, a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket delivered satellites to orbit, then returned to Earth and landed vertically on a launch pad. The achievement was so unprecedented that SpaceX employees couldn't believe it had worked. Elon later posted footage of the landing with the caption, "Welcome to the future." SpaceX continued to prove doubters wrong. The company began landing rockets on autonomous drone ships in the ocean. They developed the most powerful operational rocket in the world. They launched astronauts to the International Space Station, ending America's dependence on Russian rockets. By 2020, SpaceX was valued at over $46 billion and had fundamentally changed the space industry. Tesla became the most valuable car company in the world despite producing far fewer cars than traditional manufacturers. The company's stock price soared, making early investors incredibly wealthy and eventually making Elon the richest person on Earth. Though his wealth existed mostly as stock rather than cash, and he often said he planned to use it to fund his Mars colonization plans. But success came with costs. Elon's management style remained controversial. He demanded impossible schedules from employees. He made promises about products that arrived years late. He got into Twitter controversies that damaged his company's reputations. He showed poor judgment in personal statements and behaviors. In 2018, Elon called a British diver a pedo guy on Twitter during the Thai cave rescue, resulting in a defamation lawsuit, which Elon won, but which damaged his reputation. He tweeted about taking Tesla private, leading to SEC charges and forcing him to step down as Tesla chairman. He smoked marijuana on a podcast, causing Tesla's stock to drop and leading some executives to quit. Elon admitted to working 120-hour weeks and sleeping at Tesla factories. He spoke openly about his mental health struggles, saying he sometimes worked so intensely he didn't leave the factory for days. Friends worried about burnout. Critics said his work style was unsustainable and set a toxic example. In 2022, Elon bought Twitter for $44 billion in a controversial deal that many believed would damage his other companies. He fired most of Twitter's staff, made radical changes to the platform, and spent enormous amounts of time managing Twitter instead of focusing on Tesla and SpaceX. Yet, despite controversies, Elon's companies continued to achieve remarkable things. Tesla produced millions of electric vehicles, accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. SpaceX launched satellites providing internet to remote areas, continued advancing toward Mars colonization, and made the United States a leader in space exploration again. As of 2024, Elon Musk remains one of the most controversial and influential figures in technology. Some see him as a visionary pushing humanity forward. Others see him as a reckless billionaire whose management style harms employees and whose public behavior is irresponsible. What's undeniable is his impact. Tesla proved electric cars could be successful, forcing every major automaker to invest in electric vehicles. SpaceX made space travel cheaper and more accessible, opening possibilities that seemed like science fiction. His companies employ hundreds of thousands of people and have inspired countless others to pursue ambitious technological goals. Elon's stated life mission remains unchanged from his teenage dreams: help humanity become multiplanetary and transition to sustainable energy. Whether he achieves these audacious goals remains to be seen, but he's made more progress toward them than anyone thought possible. Elon Musk's story teaches complex lessons. It shows that refusing to accept impossible can lead to extraordinary achievements. It demonstrates that massive failure can be a step toward massive success. It proves that one person's obsessive determination really can change entire industries. But it also shows the costs of extreme ambition. Elon's relationships suffered. His mental health struggled. His public behavior often harmed his own causes. He proved you can achieve the impossible while also making serious mistakes along the way. Perhaps the most important lesson is this: progress requires people willing to bet everything on ideas that seem crazy. Sometimes those bets fail spectacularly, but sometimes they change the world. Elon once said, "When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor." He's lived that philosophy completely, for better and worse. Whether you admire him or criticize him, Elon Musk forced the world to take electric cars and private space travel seriously. The boy who read too much science fiction grew up to make some of it real. Thank you for joining us on this controversial but undeniably remarkable journey through Elon Musk's life. Remember, the line between visionary and reckless often depends on whether you succeed or fail. Don't forget to subscribe to Lifelong Echoes for more inspiring stories that help you learn English while discovering the extraordinary lives of extraordinary people.